next 90 minutes. So get ready, because we're going to move, right? Now, tell me this, you know, you're all in leadership, right? And there are some leaders and there are some individuals that kind of light up the room when they walk in. Inspirational, fire people up straight away, right? You know those kind of leaders. If you're one of those leaders, say, "Aye!" And on the other hand, there are some leaders that actually light up the room when they walk off the stage or walk out, right? And we have all been through that experience. Tell me, have you ever been through an experience where you're in church or you're in a convention, or you're in a meeting, and you're listening to the individual who's on the pulpit speak, but as you look around you, because this is not you doing this, but as you look around you, you see people going and glazing over and nodding up, and you see them bucking, and you see them yawn, and some people have a holy kind of resting position where they close the eyes and they look really spiritual, you know. You know that look there? You ever seen that look before? Now, is this the most conducive state to be in, to be changing the kingdom priorities? Is this the most perfect state to be in order to change the way in which people do things in society and turn people towards the Lord? Is that the best state to be in? No. So why am I here? I am here because I want to challenge those behaviors that happen, those behaviors that we see happen. But it means that we who are in senior leadership, we who are delivering the way in which the word is heard, have to change for the kingdom's priorities. Amen. We've got to change, because if you look at the statistics, right, the number of young people coming into the church, going up or down? Down. Down. The number of people leaving the church voluntarily, up or down? Down. Down. Oh, it's going up, I beg your pardon, right. The number of people returning back to the Caribbean. Slow down. It's slowed down, but it's still happening, right? Number of people dying. It's going up, right? It's happening. We're still losing just as many people. Number of new entrants into the church. Down. Put all of that together, and what do we have in terms of church numbers? We are actually, I believe, decreasing in number. If we're not careful, we're going to get to a situation where we are on such a decline that it won't feel like a place you want to be. And I'm sure you want to be in a place that's vibrant, that's exciting, that has movement, that has energy, that has relationships which are good, which has great information, and is uplifting to one's spirit. Would you agree? Yes. So we've got to change the way in which the word is heard. And that's what we're going to be doing over the next 90 minutes or so. I will not have you sitting down in these positions for the duration of the whole 90 minutes. You're going to be moving, you're going to be doing things, you're going to be writing, you're going to be talking, you're going to be discussing. You're going to be doing things which are different. This is not Earl doing a typical presentation. I want you to recognize that. But I need you to be absolutely with me. So if you are, raise your hand and say, "Aye!" Aye! Okay, look, without any further delay, we're not going to stay in this room for the duration of the 90 minutes. We will be returning here, so I want you to get ready, because you're going to be coming with me. We're going to march down the corridor, not walk. We're going to march down the corridor. When people see you, they will know that you're walking with a purpose. And we're going to be stepping outside very briefly to do a little exercise. So come and join me now, please. Come on. You don't need your books, you don't need your pens. Leave those here, and they'll be ready for until we get
Sorry?
Remember which spot you've got.
I think these are quite it's more equal.
And to be perfectly honest, I don't want you to miss out on some of God's glory. So let's enjoy some of the sunshine while we've got the opportunity. Now, we're going to do a little activity. I don't do any of the activities just for fun. There is a method behind all of the madness that we're going to do this morning. So I just want you to get yourselves into a nice position because I'm going to start you up. And it involves what I've got in here.
So no heels involved.
So if you just make sure that everybody gets a little piece of the rope, you get the end of the rope down that side. Lady at the end, what's your name?
Velma.
Velma, take the rope that side.
You go with her?
Keep going, keep going. Everybody grab yourself a little piece of the rope. Here is the center of the rope. Ladies, if you need to just back off your shoes just for a few seconds, feel free to do that now. Fellas, get yourselves ready. Are you approximately 50% this side, 50% this side? It's about right. Now, I have a marker here in the middle. If this marker gets beyond this point here, this team will be deemed to be the winners. If this marker here gets beyond this point here, this team will be deemed to be the winners. Ladies and gentlemen, take the strain. Take the strain. Go back a bit, yeah, go on. Take the strain. After 3, 2, 1, pull! Reverse it now. Hold on. So I just want you to hear what's going on because I am hearing a whole variety of excuses now. I'm hearing that this team is more bigger than this team. I'm hearing that, you know, we weren't quite ready and my ankles are sore and my knees have got, yeah, arthritis. And, you know, I hear that. Now, do you notice, I mean, what's your energy level like now?
It's all right.
It's right, pretty high. You guys, I mean, you're pulling like crazy, right? You're doing really well. So there's the first pull. Now, let me just refine it a little bit because you've got 2 teams here.
Yeah.
What's the theme of your conference over the next few hours? What's the theme over this weekend? Change! And it's change for kingdom priorities. And here's what I want you to understand. Whenever change is required, you don't see 2 lots of people who show up, you see 3 lots of people who show up. And I'm going to describe these folks to you. One group of people who show up are known as the thrivers. What does a thriver do when change is required? They adapt. They embrace it. What else do they do? What does a thriver do? Things need changing.
Get into action.
They get into action. What else?
They grow.
They grow. They make things happen. They inspire others to get into the change. But what I want you to recognize is that the number of thrivers in any organization or any population is relatively small, and I'm going to give you the percentages in just a little while. However, you know, you've got the thrivers on the one end. At the other end of the scale, you have a group of people known as the nose divers. Nose divers. What do you think the behavior of nose divers are?
Sit down. Negative.
Negative. What else? Can't do. What else? No inspiration.
Unwilling to try.
Excuses, excuses, excuses. And it doesn't really foster a great environment for seeing change. And again, there are a number of percentages that I'm going to give to you, but the people who are in the nosediving category, it's only a small percentage, they're at the other end of the scale. So now let's deal with the people in the middle. I call them the survivors. Repeat after me, survivors. Survivors. Survivors, you know, they're not bad people. They're okay. But when change comes, they wait to see what everybody else is doing. And if they enjoy what everybody else is doing, then they get on board.
Yes.
If they don't like what everybody else is doing, they stay and do what they're already doing because it works for them. And what I want you to recognize is that about 70% of general population is made up of survivors. Not bad people, people who just wait to see what's going on. Some of them are in the early majority, some are in the late majority, some just wait and see what's going on. So this is what we're going to do. 15% of the population are thrivers. So ladies at the end, 3 of you. This is Maggie, who? Pauline, and Velma. Paulina and Velma. You are my thrivers. Who are you?
Thrivers.
Say it like you mean it.
Thrivers.
Thrivers! Say it, let the people hear it.
Thrivers!
There you go.
Yes.
Only 15% of your organization are made up of thrivers. Pastor Tim. Who's in front of you? Gloria and Lorne. The 3 of you. You're the worst devils in the world. You are my nosedivers. You do not want to see change. You like things the way they are. Things are cool for you. Change means, ugh, I don't like that. So you resist at all costs. What's your name? Jackie, all the way through to this lady here who is Jacqueline. Jacqueline and Jackie, between the 2 of you are all the survivors. Just have a look at how many survivors there are in proportion to the thrivers and to the nosedivers. Ladies and gentlemen, please take the rope. This time your assignments are different. Pastor Tim, right the way through to my lady here. You are pulling that way for the nosediving team. You will pull like you've never pulled before to make the rope go that way. Ladies, this end, Paulina and all of you, you're my thrivers. You will pull with all your might to thrive and get the business to go that way, okay? All of you who are survivors, guess where the rope's going to go? Stay right there in the middle. Don't let that rope move 1 inch to the left or to the right. Do you understand? Take the strain. Remember your assignments. After 3, 2, 1, pull. Come on. Pull it, sir. Pull it, pull it, pull it. 10 seconds left. 9. Come on, team. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop right there. Right. Okay, so tell me, what just happened to the rope? Didn't move.
Just tension.
Didn't go anywhere. There was just a bit of tension.
Yeah.
What I want you to recognize is the rope is the same as our church or any organization. Pastor Tim, were you pulling? Were you pulling very hard?
Bishop's inspiration.
Are you sure on that? If I were to bring my sweat monitor up to you, right? Would I detect something on your, yeah? Ladies, listen, were you pulling? Really hard. I saw you. You were doing a good job. But where was the organization? Where was the church in this instance going? And why was it not going anywhere?
Because of the survivors.
You know what? I heard these 2 having a conversation. Did you watch the football last night? Did you see the Brazil game? Yeah? Oh, hang on a bit. The ropes moved a centimetre to the left. Let's just move it. Ah, there you go. Now, what we were saying, EastEnders, remember what? They were having a little pleasant conversation. And if you think about it, this is what it's like often inside our churches. We have some people who are actively resisting change. You have some leaders who are actively inspiring and trying their best, and both ends are pulling really hard, but a lot of people just don't want to move. Just want things to stay the way they are. And as a consequence, where does the business, where does the organization, where does the church go? Nowhere. Standstill. Numbers are stagnant. No new people coming in. No dynamism. No energy. No new relationships being formed. No new ministries being formed. You hear what I'm saying? If you're with me, let me hear you say aye. Aye. Right. And we're going to do something about that.
Amen. Yes.
We're going to change
Come
that.
on. Amen.
So here we go. Let's get ready to pull again, because the power to change the organization actually comes from where? You know what? The leadership who are the thrivers, they could be pulling like crazy and they still don't have the strength to do it all on their own. Yes. Even though they are working really, really hard to do so. Do you ever feel like that as leaders in the business? Yes. And leaders in the church? You're working and working, you're doing more hours than you've got available to you. You're trying, you're putting in a lot of perspiration but not getting a lot of inspiration. And you're working away and nothing's changing. And equally, you know that if you look in some fractions of your church, there's people who just don't want to know. Don't even ask me to come to that meeting. Don't even ask me to come to prayer. Don't ask me to come to fasting. Don't ask me to join the Sunday school or do this ministry or set up the thing for the kids, or don't ask me to go on this coach trip. No, I'm not going to. Don't, no, resist. There are people who are actively doing that. But the power for change comes through the middle, through the people who are survivors. This is what I want you to do. Using your own discretion, making wise choices. You're going to take this church to where you believe it belongs. So, thrivers, get ready. You're pulling that way. Nosedivers, get ready. You're pulling that way. Survivors, where do you want your church to go from today? Get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. Take the strain. Okay, right, drop the road. What did you notice happened? Very easy. It was very easy. It was so easy. Because, how did you find it that could you resist this change? You were brought along with that change. The momentum was so great that you had to go with it. But where was the power? The power wasn't in the leadership, in the drivers. It was right here in the middle. These are the people we need to be convinced, that need to have them convinced in order to make whatever initiative, whatever ministry, whatever future plan. This is the group we need to harness. This is the group we need to influence.
Power of the laity.
Sorry?
Power of the laity.
Absolutely, the power of the laity. Absolutely. So what we've got to be mindful of is, well, how are the majority hearing the word? How can they respond? Do we keep some of the key things to ourselves as leaders, or the nosedivers, kind of plotting and thinking about how we can just keep things the way they are? But what do we do with the majority? How do we connect with them? So what I'm going to do is, when we go back to the room upstairs, we're going to do a little more work on thriving, surviving, and nosediving. And if you are a leader who's a thriver, what are the behaviors that you display or should display? If you're a leader who's a survivor, what are the behaviors you would typically see? And if you could imagine seeing a nosediving leader, what would the behaviors be from that group of people? So we're going to take this rope and we're going to just put it back in the box, and we're going to march back upstairs. But this is what I want you to do. I'm going to split you up. So Pastor Tim, you are number 1. Thriver now. Lady here, you're number 2. Survivor. When you go upstairs. Thriver. Survivor. Nosediver. Thriver. survivor, nosediver, thriver, 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 survivor, nosediver. And the gentleman here, you are a thriver, sir. So all I want you to do is when you go back into the room is remember those assignments.
Okay.
We came down quite strong.
Stronger.
Shoes, your shoes?
We came down strong. We're going back up
We
stronger.
came down strong.
And we're going back up stronger.
Yes? Can you come up now?
I'm not permission of the night. Yes, Mike. Can you do one for me, please, darling? Thank you, I got the boards.
Excellent, excellent. What do you find you feel like now? Anybody feeling a bit hot? No. Anybody feeling a bit of perspiration? No. Just remember there's no inspiration without perspiration. You switching Right, so here we go. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to very quickly fill these boards in with some behaviors. These two rows here, you'll be working on this board. These two rows here, you'll be working on this board. These two rows here, you'll be working on this board. And these two rows, you'll be working on this board. You're the team captain, so you can write. You can write if you need my writing, sir. And lady there, if you need my writing. Now here's what's going to happen. We're talking about thriving, surviving, and nosediving. And now you have a little insight into a typical thriver, what they do. They embrace change. You know what a survivor does? They kind of resist and they wait to see what others are doing. And what's the nosedivers do?
Resist.
Yeah, they may even give up before they've even started. So this is what I want you to do. It's a little exercise that requires you to get your comments up on the board. Now, you can either have one person do all the writing, or people shout out the answers, or alternatively, if you've got an idea, just post it up on the board. But this is what I want you to do. I've got 3 behaviors across the top. Information. Second one, relationships, and the third one, energy. Let's just discuss that for a bit. What does a thriving leader do with information? Share. What else do they do? Use it. Okay. So you kind of get the kind of criteria that's going to go in that first box there. You're going to put in the kind of behaviors that a thriving leader would be demonstrating in your environment. Let's go to the second one. What would a surviving leader do with their relationships? Let's pull that second one. What would a surviving leader do with their relationships? Give me an idea. Try and maintain them, maybe. Yeah. What else over here? What would a surviving leader do with their relationships? What are the behaviors that you would see? Try and maintain some relationships. Okay? Finally, what kind of behaviors would you, shall we say, see a nosediver doing with their energy? What does a nosediver do with their energy? Relax. What else? It's laid back. Look at the negatives rather than the positives. So, you see what I'm trying to do? I want you to complete these 4 boards because they're going to demonstrate or they're going to identify some typical behaviors that you see people doing in the thriving, surviving, and nosediving category. You haven't got very long. It's literally 7 minutes to fill these boards with all 3 categories and just fill what you have observed, what you've seen before, or guess what you would see in each of those categories. Your time on this one starts now. Fill them in as quickly as you can. Go for it. Go for it.
Information.
Share.
Share.
We don't go first.
Let's go for 2. And maintain it, yeah, because you build it and you try to keep it, you don't want it to go down. Survivor with the relationship, survivor with the relationship.
They go on cleats.
What?
Cleats.
It's not about lazy.
Optimistic.
Is it a strong relationship? Strong, it's usually strong, isn't it? Strong.
And also it's what do you call it when like military?
Dynamic.
No, it's catching.
Yeah, catching.
You know,
Infectious.
Infectious.
But it's not to boost, it's to pull down
It's quite dynamic because there's exciting things going on, yeah? Yeah.
We can share the statistics for different nature efforts, like your auxiliaries and all that. You know what I'm saying? Kind of different things.
I suppose it goes up and down, you know, information. Yeah, that's right. The survivor can also be restricted in the information, restricted information. Is that no? Then also the negative.
1 minute left, ladies and gentlemen. 1 minute left. So if you haven't contributed, now's the time. Get as much on as you can.
Relationships,
You know, survivor. A survivor is not that unfriendly. Survivor is between. No, but no, there's a relationship here because we have a peace.
Short bursts.
Just sharing, I think.
Energy, short bursts.
Short bursts of energy, yeah. Very common, very common. We have this. Seconds. 10,
Growing.
9,
Grow.
8,
Yeah.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, hold it right there. Let's get these boards just quickly forward to the front and let's have a look at what we've got. Thank you, ladies. All right, let's have a look at what we've got. So we're seeing that. Let's take the nosedivers. What does a nosediver do with their information, their relationships, and their energy? They ignore some information. They distort some information. They sometimes give negative views on that information. Sometimes with their relationships, it's based on mistrust. I'm hearing that there's a neglect of relationships. I'm seeing that there's a discouragement of relationships, and their energy is a drain. If you've heard or feel or know people like that, just go. How does that make you feel? Right? You know, and these are the kind of people that when they walk out of the room actually lights up. You know? Whoa. They withhold information. They are restrictive. They're the people that say, I don't know. You know? Yeah, you know, and they ignore certain pieces of information. They might just stick to what they've already got. And, you can't teach me anything. Just leave it as it is. Then, in terms of their relationships, they can sometimes be negative or discouraging. They scaremonger. They're fragile in their relationships. Here we have, in terms of their energy, sometimes it's misdirected energy. Yeah, they often get into a blame culture, possibly. Yeah, it's sometimes disruptive. It's negative, and you get short bursts of energy. Never long-term, consistent, just a bit of energy. And as leaders, what do you do with a short burst of energy that people give you? You can't do anything with it. Because just when you thought, look, I need you to really see this whole thing through, you got a little burst of energy maybe at the beginning and maybe some toward the end, but nothing consistent. It doesn't make your jobs easier when you get, exactly, they're unreliable. Let me go to the middle group, the selective use of information for the survivors. Sometimes they shelve information. Sometimes they hold information. Sometimes they share what is useful to keep it to themselves, because we all know that knowledge is you know what I'm talking about, right? I didn't have to go to that lesson, right? And some people
share with people who agree.
Let me share with the people who already agree with me. So consequently, all my energy and my time is spent with, I know she's going to agree with me. And look what the church thinks. Look, here, if you want a view, talk to Sister Gloria. You know, as if the collective view and wisdom of the church comes just through these people who agree with me. So we've got to be very, very careful.
Their own authority.
They build power bases and you get their own authority. So we've got to watch out, because that's not how you're going to change the kingdom. That's not how you're going to change the mix of people who come in and the services that we offer. If you look at the relationships, some people who are in the survival camp harness those relationships. What's this word here? Cliquey. They get a little cliquey. Little subgroups forming. And sometimes you find, well, we'll wait and see. Do I really want a relationship with Pastor Tim? Or, I'll wait and see. And you get relationships here which are maintained or protected, and finally look at the energy. It's conserved. You know, I like you, so I'll give you a bit more of my energy. Are we making sense so far? These are great. Let me just turn these boards around, because I don't want to ignore the work of the other two groups. Now I'm pretty sure that we're going to see pretty similar things all the way down on the nosediving and the surviving behaviors. But I want to focus on the top things, the thriving behaviors. The thriving behaviors, what do thrivers do with information? They share it. They implement that information. They clarify that information. They train people around that information. They share information. They act upon it. They are even proactive. I've got this piece of information. I know I've got to get it out to my people. You see the difference here now. Look at what they do with their relationships. They challenge. They are challenged. Some of them challenge in their relationships. They empower people. They get a degree of team spirit. Are you with me?
Yes.
They also, look at this, they build relationships, they maintain relationships, they encourage relationships. Look at what they do with their energy. It's high energy, positive. It's almost as if these two groups are telepathic. They're zealous, they're motivated, they're fast-paced, they're active, they're pulsating. What a word, great word. Now watch this.
That one hit you.
Let's now make this into a practical, demonstrable task. Imagine you have a Bible school starting over the summer, VBS, Vibrant Bible School, right? And it's being run by thrivers, people of this ilk. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Right? At the end of that Bible school, how do you feel?
On a high.
Champion, right?
Yes.
Will you remember much of what was said?
Yes.
More than likely, look at the spirit that it was developed in. Look at the spirit in which it was delivered. It was high energy, it was positive, it was active, it was pulsating, it was positive, it was zealous, they were motivated, it was setting the pace. Look at the way in which they were doing the relationships while the VBS was going on. It was building relationships. They were empowering people, they were fostering team spirit, they were encouraging. Can you see where I'm going with this? Would you remember it?
Yes.
Which other category would you remember out of the survivors and the nosedivers? Which one would you remember? Yes, you would remember the nosedivers. Why would you remember the nosedivers?
Too short about where they are. You know them.
You know what I'm saying? And you remember the nosedivers for all the wrong reasons. Tell me, aren't these the very sessions that when you see a nosediver running a session, or when you see nosedivers in a session, aren't they the ones doing the glazing over, the nodding off, the disinterest?
Yeah.
However, so you remember these, So what do you do with these? Do you remember presentations which are done by survivors? Are they very memorable? No, they're not very memorable because they're wishy-washy. Look at what they do. The energy fluctuated. They were a bit boxed in. They behaved in a way which was in between and lacked challenge, and there was a bit of avoidance, you know. So when you say, look, are you going to change your life as a consequence of what you're hearing today? They go, well, wait and see. Neither hot nor cold, and we all know what Revelation says about spit them out, right? So here's my point. We cannot, first of all, afford to be in this category as leaders. If you want a forgettable presentation, be a survivor. These are the presentations nobody remembers, or very little is taken in. We cannot afford to be surviving when we're in leadership. We've got to be thriving. Nosediving isn't an option for you. You can't afford to be cold. You cannot afford that. But equally, you cannot afford to be in this category here, because that's just so forgettable. But I want you to remember what I said earlier. What percentage of folks are typically in survival? 70%. So there's a lot of people. So we've got to teach some skills that get you into this group, because it doesn't happen by magic. It doesn't happen by wishing and praying necessarily, although that is possible. You can do some practical things around it. So just for the next few minutes, what I'd like to do with you is to teach you how you can start to get into this area of thrive. Particularly, how do you get to thrive in your presentation? How do you change the way in which the word is heard so that people light up when they're in your presence? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take the back off the television. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, the TV engineer used to come to our house when the TV broke down. And I was so excited when he came, because he would screw the back off the TV, and I would be the first to get around it to see, okay, how do these pictures come out of the TV? And I would see valves and wires and all sorts of conductors. Well, I know I am showing my age, but you know, the thing was, when the TV engineer came around, it was like the Starship Enterprise inside the back of the TV. And I just had to see it because I was fascinated as to how the pictures came out. So what we're going to do now, over the next few minutes, is to take the back off the TV and find out how do we therefore do our presentations, how do we get our ministries, how do we get anything that we do as leaders to be a little more innovative, creative, dynamic, that just reaches people at a higher level, so that when they walk out of the room, they go, yeah, I want to do some of that. So here we go. I'm going to share with you something which I use in the training world. It's based on the work of a gentleman by the name of Dr. Howard Gardner. Repeat after me, Dr. Howard Gardner. Howard Gardner. Wonderful man, because Howard Gardner was actually quite good at school. He was an academic, he was very good. And his brother was unfortunately killed in a sledging accident. And as a result, what his parents did, they were so devastated, they moved from Eastern Europe, moved across to America. And he did academically very well in school, but his mom and dad would not allow him to do anything that carried any degree of risk. No sledging at winter time, no football, no swimming, no mountaineering, nothing like that. Safe. Everything had to be safe for him. So he did a lot of reading, he did a lot of writing, he was good at maths, and very logical. However, when he went into school, he noticed that not everybody was like him. And some kids who fell behind in their grades weren't particularly good at logic and language. And he developed a theory called multiple intelligences, because we actually have more intelligences than just one. Intelligence is a range of things. And I want to share that with you because this starts to enable you to make the breakthrough with your folks. So we're going to do a little bit of theory, turn it into practice, then we're going to do some actions. Are you ready? Yeah. Here we go. First of all, I'd like you to say hello to Slim Billy. Here's Slim Billy. Say hi to him. Hello. Okay, here he is. There he is. There's Slim Billy. And Slim Billy helps us to understand how we can use our intelligences. So there are 8 things that we're going to go through. Basically, when you hear the word, when you hear a lesson, when you hear somebody speaking, you process that you process that data and you turn it into information. Now I want to make a distinction between data and information, right? So you take that in, so it's data, and you turn it into information. What is the difference between data and information? Anybody? Unprocessed. Thank you. Data is unprocessed information. In other words, I just haven't processed it. So for instance, if I show you this, what is that? It's a date. The 36th of the 29th, 34? No, a little difficult. Oh, it's data. It's certainly data, yeah? But what is it? What is it? What is it? Just numbers. Okay, let me start to process that data. What is this?
Code. It's a code.
It's a code. What kind of code?
Sort code.
Right, and if it's a sort code, what can I do with a sort code?
Identify the bank.
Sorry? I could possibly, get some information from the bank.
Yeah.
But it's not actually a sort code. Let me give you a bit more information.
Oh, it's statistics.
It's about the statistics. And she's not in bad shape, actually. Now we're on the same page. Now we've got a situation, right, where we've turned data into information. Now we all know what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody's vital statistics. But when you initially saw the data, were we thinking the same thing? How many times do you think that happens on a Sunday? We are talking about, you know, the kingdom of heaven and God priorities and changing priorities, but people don't necessarily read it and understand it the same way as we do. And what often happens is because of the way in which we process that data using our intelligences. So here we go. Let's break this down a little bit further. There are at least eight ways in which different people use their intelligences. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the two sides to challenge each other. First I'm going to start with this side. Then I'm going to ask you to enhance what they have just said. Get ready, get ready. You see how it works. The first intelligence that we're going to mention is something called spatial visual intelligence. Spatial visual intelligence. It's to do with size, space, color, visual acuity, right? So, here you are. You're in church, you're developing a program for VBS, Vibrant Bible School, this summer, this August. You want people to come along, and you are going to be part of the leadership team. Everybody with me so far?
Yes.
Now, spatial visual intelligence basically means the people who come on the program, they want to see things. They want to know how big it is, how wide it is. They want to see things on the floor. You are decorating and preparing your church for this VBS. What can you do to increase the amount of spatial visual intelligence which is used by the group which is going to come to you? What would you change inside your meeting? How would you make it more spatially and visually aesthetic? Come on.
Remove some unnecessary furniture.
Remove unnecessary furniture. High five. In fact, everybody on this side, stand up for me, please. You have to earn the right to sit down row by row, right? So anybody on this row, when you give me an answer, you earn the right for all of you to sit down. When you give me an answer, all of you can sit down. So what other things could you do, visually or spatially, to make it aesthetic?
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint. You could use PowerPoint. All of your group can sit down. Balloons, like it. You can sit down. Right, right. Come on, come on. What can you do visually, spatially, to make it more aesthetic? Come on.
A welcoming team, you see somebody to welcome you, come into the room.
Okay, welcoming, I like it, but that's more physical. I want it visually, spatially.
Seeing people at the door.
Okay, seeing people at the door, I'm going to give you half a point for that. So you can sit down. I want more answers. One more. You can sit down. One more. So you were going to say?
I would say just the general decor of the building.
The decor of the building. So you can do something with your environment. Grab yourself a seat, sir. Ladies at the end here.
Different sections with different activities. Different
Beautiful.
points.
So you divide up the room so you have different sections for different activities and you label it as such. Grab yourselves a seat. Now, you've got the challenge now. Because they've given you the standard answers, right? This is nice. This works. Everybody on your feet. You've got to make it even more innovative, more creative than that. What could you do to enhance the visual spatial intelligence that's being used by the group in Vibrant Bible School in your session, which starts in August? What can you do? Earn the right for your row to sit down.
Some of the materials you use.
Come on, talk to me. Go on, Heather.
The games and
Right,
stuff
so
like
have
that.
some kind of games.
Yeah.
Visual games,
Yes.
right? Earn the right to sit down. Keep going.
Colours.
Come on, tell me more
Bright
about
colours.
Bright colours.
Make it attractive.
Make it attractive. What? Small like this, little tiny?
Big.
Big!
Bold
Bold
colours.
colours. You've earned the right to sit down.
Puppets. Use lots of puppets.
Look, use puppets, right? So use lots of puppets. Now I'm gonna give you that, but I'm gonna show you where that comes in more specifically.
Okay.
Like,
I would think like using appropriate pictures around the walls.
pictures on the walls, not just pictures, posters. Posters, right? Big, right? Grab yourself a seat. Right, proper lighting. We don't want any dingy, dark lighting. We want big lighting. Are you kind of getting an idea of how you can now physically change your environment so it becomes a bit more visually attractive? Big pictures of Muhammad Ali, Nelson Mandela, Moses, Jesus, an angel hanging from the ceiling.
Usain Bolt.
Sorry? Usain Bolt. Yeah, Usain Bolt. Not only that, you have available to you as well the floor. You have the floor. What I tend to do with the floor is I put floor maps on the floor. I draw diagrams on the floor. And sometimes we walk through the journey of life. Right? We put obstacles in the way.
Dress up as a character.
Oh my Lord. You see where we're going now? What we've just done is we've just raised the level of engagement with our audience just by one intelligence that's hardly ever used. All right, so that's the game we're going to play in just a little bit. Let me give you the rest of these and then we're going to do the same exercise again. The second intelligence is called language. I'm going to call it language. Language. The third intelligence is called interpersonal intelligence. We're going to go through all of these. The next one is called musical intelligence, followed by bodily kinesthetic. Now I'm giving you the labels. We're going to do the experiences in just a few moments. Kinesthetic. Yeah. Followed by intrapersonal intelligence, followed by logical intelligence, and finally emotional intelligence. Get those labels. Everybody got those labels? When you've got those labels, raise your hand and say aye. Yeah, sure. Oh, I'm going to come to that. I'm going to come to that. Brilliant. So have you all got those labels?
Yeah.
Right, good. Now, what's your name? Beverly. Sister Beverly just said something. Can I add, she says, with the spatial visual intelligence, what about the seating arrangements? You have hit a major plus point there. If there were gold stars being offered, I'd give you 10 now. Right? Watch this. If you walk into a room and it's a classroom, and you see the chairs laid out like this, with a projector here and a screen there, what does it tell you your session is going to be like? You're going to be in a classroom and you're going to be going through a lecture. Particularly if I have a lectern or a pulpit right here. Straight away, as people have come into the room, they are automatically making assumptions that this is the kind of experience we're going to have, just by the layout of the room. So one of the very quick ways in which you can change people's paradigms and therefore change the way in which they see the session, even before you've opened a word of the word, is to change the layout of the room. Maybe have tables or clusters of groups. Maybe have, that's why we have things on the wall. Just change the layout, and already they're going, I've been to a session like this before. Maybe, just maybe, you might even start the first 5 minutes in the room, and then somebody tells you, march downstairs, go on outside. You'll find that we're going to go, and there's a rope out there. You didn't catch on. You see what I'm saying? Right, so let me just talk through some of these. Language intelligence. People who process their data and turn it into information through language, what are they doing? What are they doing? People who use language intelligence.
They're listening.
They're listening.
Analyzing.
Yeah. So notice this. When I say to you things like, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but should have everlasting life. You all know what I'm talking about, right? Because you're used to that language. And I could say, you know, the person who wrote that was really close to Jesus, right? And it's taken from where? John 3. You see, you're even finishing for me. Because you're used to the language, you're used to that patterning. You know that language, you know that pattern, that data is quickly turned into information because you understand the language. What happens when somebody doesn't understand the language? Yeah, and we often leave them with the assumption that we know and they therefore should know, and they don't know. And therefore you can lose people just through language. And they can be embarrassed. And what is the likelihood that you're going to get a degree of interaction if they feel embarrassed? Or that this language isn't used to them. And look how we go, thee, thou, thou, you know, believeth, salvation. What's that word mean? What's salvation? And here's this, hear this. You need the blood of Jesus to wash you. Now let's think about those two words, right? What are the two key words?
Blood and wash.
Blood and wash. You know, when I think of blood and wash, it's a mess. It doesn't work if you're not into that language. And therefore we need to use language which is more relevant, more appropriate, and therefore can reach people at where they are now. Just take that word salvation. What does that mean? We know what it means, but what does that mean to somebody who's a 16-year-old just come out of college and wondering whether they should smoke a ganja split or join a gang? We've got to think about how we put the word across, and language is one of them. Yeah. I'm going to come back to it in just a bit. Interpersonal intelligence. Interpersonal intelligence is all about giving people the space to talk to each other. Now watch this. If I'm a traditional teacher or a traditional pastor, and I see two people at the back of the room talking to each other, what do I say? Shut up! I'm in charge. Listen to me.
Yeah.
And I think somebody had something about misdirected energy on here somewhere. My energy is now misdirected because I'm saying shut up, when I should be going, this is how we're going to be safe. So interpersonal intelligence, I just want you to recognize it happens. Musical intelligence. And in our church, musical intelligence is even more critical to our success. If I sang this song to you, now I'm going to hum a song. Da, 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 da. Which film? Titanic. Wasn't that sad? But right away, you know where I am, and you kind of transported to that feeling, that energy which was around the film. So music can take you to a different place. Here again, you know, when we sing songs, notice how the energy in the room changes. You can sing a song that lifts the energy up to here. You can sing a song that just brings people into a really holy, spiritual, divine place where you can almost touch God's presence, right? So this musical intelligence, we use this probably better than any other group on the planet. But we've got to learn how to harness it so it does the work of changing the way the word is heard, and therefore changes the priority around how the kingdom is operated. Bodily kinesthetic, this is quite simple. Bodily kinesthetic is, look, don't talk about it, do it. I could quite easily tell you about thrivers, survivors, nosedivers. I could tell you where it originally came from. I could tell you about Dr. Jim, oh, what was his name? He was my lecturer at college. And he's now Dean of Nottingham University. And he originally called thrivers and survivors and nosedivers innovators, waverers, and laggards. Now, I'm telling you all of this stuff. How interesting is this? I could then tell you all about the laggards and the people who used to use the spinning machines and they used to throw a spanner in the works, and that's where we actually get the source of this information from. I could tell you what they did in Nottingham, but all of this is just rational language. Isn't it better that we actually go outside and pull a rope and then you suddenly know what a thriver is, what a survivor is, what a nosediver is, because you physically did it? You with me? So sometimes you need to do things rather than talk about it. You know what I am so tempted to sometimes do in church, which is, you know what, we talk about saving those people in the Marines, which is the area just outside our church. I sometimes feel like saying, look, let's just stop talking about it. Let's get up and march down the road and go to the pub down the road and talk to people. I sometimes feel like doing that, but you know, really literally bodily kinesthetically getting up and doing it. Intrapersonal intelligence. Let me just share this one with you. Intrapersonal intelligence is, what is that? Can somebody explain what is that?
Outside of your...
Oh, the other way around. You are so good. The other way around. This is outside of you, when you are interpersonally connected with somebody. So therefore, intrapersonal intelligence, within. Like you have an intranet, which is within the organization. Intrapersonal intelligence just happens inside of you. It's where you sit back and you reflect, you meditate, you see the pictures in your mind, you internalize. And often we don't give people enough time to just sit down and reflect on what was just said. Now I'm going to come back to this because this is extremely powerful. Logical intelligence. Basically, everything needs a start, a middle, and an end. A start, a middle, and an end. If people do not hear the start, the middle, and the end, some people who are logically gifted, they don't want to hear anything else because you didn't give them a start, a middle, and an end. We call it the 9 o'clock news approach. They basically tell you what they're going to tell you, then they tell you what then they tell you what they've told you. So basically, hello, today we're going to hear about the headlines, we're going to start off with football. Then they tell you about the football. Then they summarize by telling you, we told you about the football. So you tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them what you've told them. And this gives structure.
Yeah.
How many times, yeah, exactly. It gives a logical flow to the information you're about to give them or the data that you're about to give them. And often we find that people speak and they don't put it in a logical structure. They go at random points.
Nebulous.
Sorry?
Nebulous.
Yes, and as a consequence, the people who are receiving this can't grasp hold of, well, he started there, he's gone over there, he's now talking about this. Where did that relate to this? And it's all over the place. I just want you to capture the basics. And finally, emotional intelligence. If you want to read more about emotional intelligence, put this man's name down. His name is Daniel Goleman. G-O-L-E-M-A-N. Daniel Goleman. And he tells us all about emotional intelligence, which is basically, you get a sense, you become emotionally aware. So for instance, what would happen if we all went out of the room for lunch and two people were in here and one was being counseled and was being prayed for, and you suddenly burst into the room and you saw this, what would you do? You'd go back out. What is it that tells you should go back out? It's, you just kind of sense it's a private moment. The thing that's informing you of that is your emotional intelligence. It tells you, oh, we should leave them alone. Right? Now, here we go. Your turn. Stand up for me, please. You're going to give me the basics. You're going to give me the enhancements. Now we're talking about language. VBS school is going to be running August. Vibrant Bible School. You've got kids from the area and the schools and the gangs and everybody wanting to come to VBS. You've done some fabulous marketing and they're there.